Before we're born again, we have one principle with which we live by, and it's the flesh. We obey the flesh, we love the flesh, we delight in it. We walked willingly and happily in it, submitting to every temptation thrown our way. And why do I see this statement, this passage from Paul as relating to the struggle of a Christian? That's exactly why. Look at his statements. Verse 15. I don't do what I want, but I do the thing I hate. An unbeliever wouldn't say those things. You never find an unbeliever going, boy, I really hate my sin. I really would rather serve the Lord. If they're saying that, then they are born again. Because it's only the believer who has the desire to serve Christ. And it's only the believer who hates their sin. Prior to coming to Christ, we didn't hate our sin, we loved it. If we hadn't loved it, we wouldn't have stayed in it. We would have come to Christ. An unbeliever says, I'm a good person, then I don't need forgiveness. An unbeliever says, I'm good, and I will do what I want. I'm the master of my own destiny. They would never say they're in bondage to anything, let alone their own flesh. And they would never wrestle with their flesh. No addict easily or readily admits their addiction. As far as they're concerned, they are fine, and they could stop at any time. An unbeliever would never admit that they're doing the things that they don't want to do because they are dead in their sin, and as such they love the sinning that they are doing. They are doing exactly what they want to do. And so did we outside of Christ. Paul's words are the marks of a maturing believer. The growing Christian is the one who says clearly with Paul, I don't do the things I want, which is obey Christ. Not all the time, not perfectly, that's the implication, but I find that I'm constantly doing the things that I hate. You do that? You sin against God, and it's almost immediate for those of us who are born again. That guilt, all that dread. How could I do it again? I know I struggle with this temptation, and here I am again. I could have turned away, and yet I didn't. I submitted to my flesh rather than Christ. I do the things that I hate. I do the things I hate, and I don't do what I really love, what I really want to do. An unbeliever would never say any of those things. They would never wrestle against sin. Paul says, I don't even understand why I keep falling. Oh, it's a statement of frustration. I hope you can relate to Paul this morning. As you're walking with Christ yourself and fighting against your sin, I hope you relate to this struggle. Because none of us are perfectly obedient. I'm not perfectly obedient. I'll tell you right now, I'm the wretch that the song Amazing Grace refers to. Anybody want to have a challenge over who's the most sinful in the room? I probably can put you all under the table. I am a sinner saved only by God's grace. Our new nature, which is given by God and driven by the Spirit, says to us, obey and follow God, but our flesh says, no, rebel. You surely will not die. For God knows you'll become like Him. That's why He doesn't want you to do those things or enjoy those things or have those pleasures or those desires. He knows what it'll cause. It lies, it's deceitful, it's deceptive. The talk of the believer, the talk like Paul in verse 15, of wanting to do these things and not wanting to do these things we keep stumbling into, that is the talk of a person who is becoming more enraptured and more in love with a desire to be like their Savior, to walk like Him. A believer who is being more sanctified by the Spirit. That's the response of the believer to sin they find in their lives. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate my sin. Only the maturing believer would experience or even be concerned about such deep struggles of the mind and the heart and the conscience.